rise up a beamy being. As you've always heard me talk about, it's about being the human being. Today I thought I'd try going live, so we're going to see what happens, and let's see if I can just press a few buttons here. Just bear with me a second, because I'm really not sure how this works, and I'm sure everyone's been saying exactly the same. So let's have a look at where I'm at. So I'm just opening up another device here somewhere along the line. Okay, so I've got the chat open. So today I'm going to be doing a little bit more of these, I feel, because I want to connect into people. Let me just text something just to see if this works on the chat. So hopefully I've said hello there. As we know, I don't know if the microphone is working properly. I'm just having a go, just like anybody else. I'm going to talk a little bit about the dark night of the soul, because it's a very, very important subject, and it's something that is very special. At the time, when you're going through this, you think it's a curse. But what I realized was it was a transformation of the self. And as you're transforming from the human being into your soulful self, what happens is that you start to lose who you used to be. And so therefore you go into the dark night of the soul. And that's where you're looking at life and thinking, I don't know who I am anymore. And that's the most important thing. I used to know who I was, and then I fell into the dark night of the soul and said to myself, I don't know who I am anymore. And then I came out of the dark night of the soul, and now I know who I am. So it's a big important question, isn't it, to try and understand. Hi, Philip. Just to understand what it is you're going through within the dark night of the soul. As I said, there's three parts to our stories as what you would call is a human being. You've got the human side. You know everything about what it means to be a human being. Please turn up the mic. Bear with me a second. How's that? Can everybody hear me? Is that better on the microphone? That's from VK. Hi, VK. So I've just turned up the microphone. It's all new to me. I'm just having a go, just like everybody else. Can everybody hear me? Philip Preston, yes, you can hear me loud and clear. Does it need to go any louder? If it needs to go louder, please let us know. VK says brilliant. Critical Thinker says yes. What? Yes, it needs to go louder. Perfect. Oh, so good to catch your live. Can you see and hear you loud and clear? Yes. Okay, brilliant. No. Somebody is saying no. I'm going to turn it up a tad more. How's that? Is that sounding a little bit better? Critical Thinker says no. Okay. No, it's all good. Right, okay, this is crazy for me because I'm looking at one device and I've got another louder. Miko Vong says louder. I'll try louder. Let's try that one. NP, spot on. Indigo 1111, spot on. Okay, guys, I'll talk a little bit louder, see if that makes any more sense. I'm not sure how the video is coming out. I'm seeing a delay that's going on here, so it's going to be very difficult for me to catch on what's going. But if this does work out, then I'd love to do more, because it reminds me of being on TV, really, when I was back on being a UK's top psychic in the country. You know, we was dealing with monitors and dealing with people all over the world, sort of thing. And now we've got it now. So we've got a few people here that's come on. So if you've got any questions, let me know, and then we can have a little chat about them. But other than that, as you know, through my videos, it's all been about the dark night of the soul. There's not many people out there that actually talk about the dark night of the soul. I think the last person that spoke about it really or wrote a book on it was in the 16th century. And I believe that came from a guy called St. John of the Cross. I've never read the book, and because I don't read books, I think one of the greatest things to do is not to read books, but learn your own book. Learn how to um, understand what's going on in your life. So we've got Loco Coco. Hey Trevor, I have a question. I'm still waiting for the answer. Send your question in and let's have a look, because there is a delay on this for some reason. I think it's so that I can catch up, but we'll see how this goes. Right, you said in the videos recently something about speaking from soul self to human self. Can you explain that, please? Yes, I can actually. In the human self, the way that I was doing it, I'm just a man. I'm just a human guy. I'm just a dad. I'm just a granddad. I'm a great grandfather now. So everything in my mind was just like a human being. So that means I felt like a human being. I was thinking like a human being. I was saying things like a human being. And what that means was my emotional self, my ego self, the way that I got, sort of brought up was to be a man. So therefore, everything that I'd said, every way that I reacted in any drama or situation, I was just a man. And to be honest with you, I could be very fiery, very angry. And at the time, I wouldn't suppose that I was great at communication. So my whole hairdressing career was about communicating, and I just sold you shampoo. I made you look good. I made you look great for your wedding. So that was the human side of it. The human side was saying, oh, I've come from a really bad upbringing. My mum was this, my dad split up there, had the horrible stepfather bit, and so therefore you're consumed by the human, right? Now, when I fell into the dark night of the soul, you could turn around and say, I was mental. I was utterly, utterly depressed, beyond the word depressed. I never thought I would ever be depressed. It didn't come into my vocabulary on understanding what depression was all about. And I found myself in that place for 10 years. 10 years I was struggling to understand what has gone on. Why has my mind changed? Why has everything changed about myself? So, understanding that, I started to write a journal and I started to write a letter to my soul. So, basically, Trevor would turn around and say, why is my life like this? Why have I fell into depression? Why don't I like life? Where's my happiness gone? Where's my personality gone? And I remember one of my children saying to me, you're not my dad. And I turned around and said, I know. And that was really weird for me, because what was starting to happen was my soul was now starting to communicate, and I was becoming somebody else that I had no idea about who I was going to become. That's scary. Now, somebody said earlier on about the soulful journey, speaking from the soul to the human self, which is what I'm explaining right now. I try and keep these short because there's quite a few people on here, which I really and honestly didn't expect. So when the soul started to communicate with me, it started to give me a code, and it was giving me answers to all of the problems that I was going through. So trust me when I say this, when you write down in your journal, why is my life rubbish? Why has it turned out like this? Why am I depressed? It's almost like that book with Neil Donald Walsh, an inner dialogue with God he had. And, but I didn't realize I was having an inner dialogue with myself. And so therefore, on a soul level, the soul started to show itself, which is my true self. The human self says, I'm Trevor Ilesley. I'm an hairdresser, I'm a dad, I'm a granddad, and all of the bits and pieces, right? But then my soul was telling me I was somebody else. And so therefore, now, when I look at life, I look at everybody as a soul. I don't see him as a man. I don't see him as a woman. I don't even see him as a child anymore. I see them as a soulful being that has come here to endure, and I do mean endure, life, to understand the process of what it means to be a human being. And as you know, on the planet, it's not a good place to be, is it? Being a human being is it's hard work. It is hard. And we spend a lot of time trying to be a human being. And then when you fall in that darkness and you're called depressed, you have a lot of anxiety, schizophrenia for me, because I was dealing with a lot of spirit, which was crazy, because I never thought I was going to become a channel. I never thought I was going to become a medium. I never thought I was going to end up on TV as one of the top psychics in the country. But that was my soul. Hairdresser, fell into the darkness, came out, ended up on TV, and now I bring beamism, which I believe, for me, I don't like the word really, it's a religion for myself. Why do I say it's a religion? And religion, by the way, is spelled Realigion, religion, which means I needed to believe in myself. How many people out there don't believe in themselves? You don't believe in your journey. You don't believe that love exists. You don't believe that you are the being that you are seeking. You don't believe that you can understand self-love. You don't believe that you can understand compassion. You don't believe that you can understand enlightenment. You don't believe what's happening in your journey. I can go on. The list goes on and on and on. On a soulful self now, I see everyone struggling within their journey as a human being. So you've heard me say many, many times, drop the human being because it's killing you. And the reason why I say that is because I only speak from truth. I don't speak from words from books. You'll never hear me quote anything, and hopefully you'll never hear anything that says, oh, I've listened to that before, I've heard that before. So for me, this is all new. So as I was creating Be Meism, which become my religion, Be Me is. There's a big question mark there, isn't there? Do I believe in myself? Do I believe in this journey? Do I actually believe I'm depressed? And at the time, if I went to the doctors, I could turn around and say, yeah, I'm depressed. Give me some pills, give me some tablets and make me feel good about myself. That's a strange one, isn't it? But I knew that there wasn't a tablet, there wasn't medicine, there wasn't a pill. Maybe it works for some people, but I knew there was something happening to me inside. I was refusing to believe that I was really, honestly, this depressed. I mean, my friends couldn't believe it. And then it started getting spiritual, and I started talking about love, and I started talking about spiritual things. Then I started seeing a lot of ghosts. Now, that's not good. You wake up in the middle of the night and they're in your room. I've had some strange, mystical experiences that I don't speak too much about them because they're so unreal. It's hard to actually speak about them. And that's why I turn around and say they're mystical. So you can understand why a mystic's called a mystic, because they're mystical. We have no idea why they're happening. And I remember I was in my studio and you may have heard me say this on a video before, and I was sleeping at the studio. And you know when you're asleep and somebody turns the light on, well, you know somebody's turned the light on, even if your eyes are closed, right? So I'm laying there and I see this big light with my eyes closed. So I opened my eyes, and as I looked up to the ceiling, there are these two massive balls of light on top of the ceiling. Now I knew that they wasn't lights from anywhere else because it was in the middle of the night, and plus I didn't have windows. I was up in the loft of stables, and so therefore I saw these two big orbs. They must have been about this big, and they was as bright as lights on your car if you put the full beam on. And all of a sudden, as I saw them, they not run off, they sped off into the other part of the studio. And they went through the wall and they disappeared. So I screamed and I said, "How dare you? How dare you show me that vision and then leave? I demand you to come back and show me who you are." And I kid you not, these two lights came through the wall and they glid along the top of the ceiling and they was above me. And I just said, "Thank you very much." And then they disappeared the other way and then went through the wall on the other side. And I used to think to myself, I don't know who they were. I don't know what they was all about, but it was a mystical experience that let me know that there was something else that was going on. So your mystical experiences are really important. You may not ever get to understand what they truly mean, but later on in life, they can start to make sense. So for me now, when I look at things like that, that's what I would call angelic, which means they've never touched on the earth plane. And so therefore, I know that when I leave this planet, I shall go into the world of spirit because 100% I believe in the world of spirit. There's no two ways about it. And I will go into the world of spirit and they will make it known to me. And so therefore, when you hear me talk about the human story, it's about awakening because the human story is false. It's a false identity. We've all believed it to be so. But I believe now that anyone that is going through depression, I reckon you're nearly there because depression is an ending of a programming. And it's when yourself looks at life and says, I don't get the point of it. I don't understand what it means. And so therefore you start questioning. And that's what it feels like, doesn't it? It feels like you've got this great big question mark. And somebody once said to me, "Trev, you were so alive, but now it looks like you're not in. The light's on, but no one's in the building." And I thought, yeah, it is because I was channeling a different world. I was connecting into a different world. So then I started seeing all these ghosts. And then it led me to believe that somewhere the spirits were telling me 100% this is real. So how can I say it's not real? You got a lot of people out there talking about spirits, and I know they talk about them, but they've never seen a spirit. I have seen hundreds, literally hundreds. My children have seen spirits, and one of my youngest granddaughters, she sees spirits. She has a friend that's around her, but not only is it in her imagination, my daughter has seen the spirit that's around her daughter. Um, Everyone's seen it, and when you get to see things like that, it's really difficult, and it's really difficult for that child to understand. So I don't know if you've had that, because I now believe what depression is. If you go back in your journey and you had spirit visions, I now believe that depression is a tap on the shoulder from your spirit guides and says, "Hey, do you remember when you used to see spirit?" And it was like, oh my God. And what it's going to do is it's going to take you back to remembering that you did see spirit. So here's the question. If you know that spirit is real, then what about my spirit? It's great, isn't it? You go to a mediumship show, and I've done mediumship shows. I'm glad I said that correctly. And I'm there on the stage talking to an invisible force. And I'm talking to the audience about, I've got your granddad here or your nan or whoever it is. And to me, it was amazing. I thought, oh my God, I don't even know how I'm doing this. And so, therefore, it gets you thinking, one, how does spirit actually get in my head to deliver a message? That's a question mark, right? So, how is spirit influencing us? That's a problem, isn't it? Look at these channels. And I've done channeling as well. And how are they doing that? So that then got me thinking that said, well, how much are they influencing us in our journey? How many times do you have thoughts and you think to yourself, these ain't my thoughts. I don't even know where these are coming from. Now, in the dark night of the soul, this is where it gets really scary. Because them thoughts want to kill you. I don't know if you're having them. I don't know if you're understanding them. But I was at a place in my life when I was thinking about suicide. Oh, it's not a good place. It was so dark. It was so awful. It was so scary because you kind of feel like that you want to do it. But there's a part of you that's saying, yeah, but I don't want to do it. And it got really bad for me. And the pain got really bad. My emotions got really bad. My body was really hurting. Yeah, it's difficult. Anyway, let's get back to some questions here. I'm glad everyone's come on board. Sorry that I'm just going to have to recompose myself because I'm sort of reliving it a little bit within my mind. Experimental elemental. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Fantastic to see you live, Trev. Critical thinker, just opinion. Oh my God, love you. I was thinking we need a community in the UK. Now that is interesting because I was going to do a video and it wasn't going to be live. I don't think there's enough going on in the UK. I look at the Americans and there's a lot of people that are awakening, and there's many teachers that are helping people to awaken, and there's many master classes, there's many great big shows, there's great big conferences, and I think the Americans are really the way forward in helping their community. And I think it's brilliant. You know, I was listening to Bruce Lipton. Now, when you look at Bruce Lipton, I mean, he just started off as a scientist. I mean, who wants to listen to a scientist, right? I don't. I wasn't educated enough to listen to biology and science and quantum physics and all of this stuff. Who am I? I'm just a hairdresser. I'm just a nobody. But these men have become the forefront because in their journey they have also had an awakening. And so therefore they may have been into the science field, which means they were very physical beings. There is no such thing called spirit. There is no such thing called God. There is no such thing called awakening. There is no such thing called divinity because all they work on is physical facts. They talk about your atoms, they talk about the cells in your body, and they try to find out what is the remedy within your genes, how does illness affect us, and what is illness all about. But now when you look at them, they are really transforming the world. And so therefore, they are doing their best because what they've done in their first part of their story is they've gathered up all their information. Then they get to that question mark that says, hey, this isn't right. Something else has come to light. And they discover something different. And that's why I love the Americans, because I think they're brilliant at being able to put a show together. And as I said, it's just not enough here in the UK. We're still stuck on the psychics and the mediums and the clairvoyants. And to me, when you go to a mediumship show, you pay what, 30 pounds, maybe 35 pounds to go and see somebody in a big auditorium. There may be 500 people, maybe more. And so therefore, you know, to me, what it seemed like is if you were lucky, you got a message from the medium, right? And somebody in the audience would receive a message. So your £30 would be worth it, wouldn't it? You'd go, oh my God, I want to saw this medium. It's fantastic. My mum turned up and it was great to get a message from her. But for the other 497 people, or whoever, they didn't get a message, right? To me, that was like buying a ticket to the cinema to go and see a film. You get into the auditorium, but you don't see the film. Do you know what I'm saying? So to me, that's what it meant. Now, here's the thing. When I was at a college, because I had to go to university, a college, Stansted Hall in England. It's one of the biggest spiritual centres we have in England. And I found myself on this course. It was just something that happened. Oh my God, my battery's going to run out. This is not good. Do I just disappear and go and get a battery lead and plug it all in? Can you just bear with me while I try and see whether or not I can get this in, because this is going to go. It's gone down further than I thought it was going to do. So can you just sit there for a moment? Never in a live chat has this ever happened, is it? Bear with me. Right, guys, I don't know if this is going to cut off, but now I know that this can happen. So you're going to have to bear with me, because this can completely go wrong, because I've got a problem here that's going on and I can't actually see if it's charging or not. But what I might do is come back and put my iPhone on. So if it does go off, sorry, there's something here that is going on. I've got loads of questions here, and if this does cut off, because I'm using an iPad at the moment, I'll get back on with my iPhone, which is charged up, by the way, and we'll see if we can carry this on. But please stay on. Oh, I'm out of breath now, walking up and down the stairs. But do you guys like, let's see. Now, I was talking about going into the college, and I've lost complete track. Hi, Trevor. Hi, John. John Armstrong. Indigo 1111. Realizing this journey isn't about gaining anything, it's about letting go of the beliefs and going inward. It's also a constant journey, and these reminders are a huge help. Yes, it is. It's about really letting go of the beliefs that we've been told of who we are. And that was the difference between being a human being and then finding myself as being a creative beamism and empathy. Critical thinker says makes you feel like a failure and like you don't belong. It does. It simply does. It simply does do that. That's one of the things. I felt like I didn't belong into the world, and so therefore, but what's happening with that is the human self doesn't belong into the world, and what it is, if people get close to that suicidal thing, it's it's not about killing yourself physically permanently. This is about um, letting go of the programming. That's it. I was a bit lost for words there. This is about letting go of the programming that you thought you were. That's the very thing that needs to be killed off, and that's why we take a dive, and that's why we turn around and say nothing makes sense. Yes, the human programming doesn't make sense. It's a trap. It's a trick. It's completely no good. When I try, I can't get the answer. Kim, what does that mean? Right, I tell you what, I'm so pleased that so many people on here. One of my friends kept on and on and on. Trev, you got to go live. You got to go live. You got to go live. And I said, I don't know how to go live. And today I've decided to go live. So it will get better than this. I tell you not. So what we got here, Loco Coco. I feel huge fear when I start letting myself to soul self. When I let go, there is a huge fear coming out, and I can't stay for a long time in the letting go phase because of the fear. It's just phase. It's a big one. That truly is a big one, and it is a big fear. I kid you not. And as I said, I never felt fear really, not in the way that I'd felt it before. But what that fear is saying is that letting go of who you used to be and becoming something else that you have no idea on what you're becoming is a huge fear. And so therefore, for me, there was no future event on who I was becoming. I had no picture. As a hairdresser, I could say, well, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to get clients and I'm going to get a shop and I'm going to do all these things in the hairdressing world. But when it comes to the awakening of your soul, you have no idea of who your true self is. Because this journey is all about finding the true self, feeling the true self, and being the true self. And finding the true self was the big question mark. That was the fear. And then it was about feeling the true self. So does it feel right? Does it feel wrong? Shall I run back and do what I used to do? And I tried that so many times, to run back and do what I used to do. And it just wasn't happening. It was, spirit made it very difficult for me to go back and do what I used to do, which was crazy, really, because all I wanted to do was cut hair. I made people look fabulous, but it wasn't going to happen. So yes, there is a big fear. It's a big, big fear. You got to get used to the fear, because what's going on is you're trying to understand fear. That's why the dark night of the soul is the teacher, because once you start to understand the fear, fear disappears. We hear many people say, oh, if you're in fear, you've got to slap love on the top, you've got to have these positive affirmations and all of these things. It doesn't work. Honestly, it does not work. You have to understand what the fear is, because what you want is that you want a life of no fear. So what does the world give us? What's the world of politics? What is happening around the world? Well, it's all fear-based, isn't it? Everything is fear. And so therefore we suck that stuff in. We take it into our own energy fields. Look at your TV programs, look at the films that are available. But it's it's um it's all fear based. So when we're trying to understand love is when we understand fear. If we can understand fear, fear drops away. And here's the answer to fear. All fear wants is to be loved. And what happened for me was no matter where I went, no matter what country I went to, fear was still chasing me. And then I had this awful, it wasn't a vision, this was real. And it was in my house. And out the corner of my eye, because you'll always see spirit out the corner of your eye, I could see this darkness consumed in the corner. It was huge. And if there wasn't a roof on the ceiling, it would just leave the roof. It would just expand. It just would be bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, I thought, shit, the devil's come to take me, you know. And I remember turning around and saying, if you're going to take me out, I suggest you do it now because I'm here on a mission. I know my soul's here to create something different, create something new. I'm here to bring the awakening. And this is going back about 20, 24 years ago, 25 years ago. So it was a long time ago before any of this awakening started to really happen. And I was scared of the fear, but I faced it full on. And I said, if you're going to take me out, then take me out now because I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to keep pushing forward. I don't care what obstacles you put in the way. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And I'll keep going, even if it does kill me. And in that moment, I kid you not, darkness bowed down. It just bowed down as if to say, you have just understood the teachings of fear. And here's the thing. Fear teaches you towards the light. Now, the light, let's say love. Audio is working. Great. Okay, that was a long while ago. So fear teaches you towards the light or to love. Once you understand all of your fears from your childhood, from your parenting, from your experiences, from the education, from the whole crap of being a human being, because all fear-based, that's why so many people in depression, so many people have an anxiety attack, so many people don't have confidence, and it's a real shame. But that is the human programming. Understanding your fear is a very, very important start of that journey, and fear can engulf you. It's like sticky toffee. You can't see where you're going. You don't know who you are. There's a heaviness to it, and it feels like you're walking on sticky toffee. Your feet are heavy. You can't get up in the mornings. You can't even be bothered to speak. You can't even be bothered to shower. You can't even be bothered to change your clothes, and you can't even be bothered to go out. It's a terrible, terrible place. I can't express it enough. But once I'd understood that fear wasn't actually trying to kill me, it was teaching me that there was fear in me. So for me to become a messenger of this message, of course, I had a load of fear. I had a load of fear of what spirit was going to turn up and tap me on the shoulder or be looking at me or, I've had so many strange things happen. I had all these fears. But when I understood fear, fear was beautiful. And fear had let me know that I was carrying fear. And if there was fear still consumed in my body, I couldn't receive the message. So there has been a saying out there where it says, you must empty your cup before your cup can be filled. Well, I never truly understood that saying until that day. Fear had consumed my cup. My cup is my kingdom. It's the inner self. This is the kingdom of, right? Somebody spoke about that before. And so therefore, when I was in that fear, I was screaming for God. I was screaming for spirit. I was screaming for anyone, my nan, my granddad, anyone in the spirit world. Help me out. I'm dying here. I'm in a lot of pain and I need healing. And the pain was awful. But in that fearful moment, I stood my ground. I stood my ground, and that was the last fear, and it just dropped away. And fear then stepped back behind me. And so, therefore, as fear drew back, love, or what you would call is love, stepped forward. It's like driving your car if you got stick, you know, clutch, accelerator, clutch, accelerator. A lot of the times, what we're doing is that we've got the clutch down, which is the fear. We're revving the car. We ain't going nowhere. It's around, you know, I'm going to wear out the engine. Fear brings up the clutch. We put our foot on the gas, and in comes love. And now we're rocking and a rolling. That's the soul. Now we're rocking and a rolling. That's the soul talk. And then you start to become your true self. And it is a feeling that is beyond anything I've ever experienced, because it's so nice not to have a body that is filled with fear. And because I was filled with fear, that made me a little bit dangerous. You know, that made me very angry. And if you said anything to me, then, you know, I'm sorry, but I used to just kind of lash out in whatever way. It's how I was taught. It's how I got brought up. And so therefore now I don't have that. I don't have them feelings anymore. I don't even get hunger feelings. You know, my body doesn't say, oh, it's hungry. I don't get feelings of, oh, that's emotional. Oh, yeah, that's bloody hurt. Oh, I don't like that. And being a man, you know, we get the arse, we get the hump, and we start sulking, don't we? That's what men do. I suppose women do as well. But now I don't get that. I don't get none of them. It's like being a clear channel. So that's what it means to empty your cup and to be filled with spirit, to be filled with your own spirit. It's a new language, and that's why I bring the new language. And I'm glad this is not cut out yet. I bet it does now, saying that. But I'm glad it's not cut out. So you fill yourself up with your own level of consciousness. Consciousness. It's a great word. People try to understand what is consciousness. So I say this. I'm so honest and so truthful. I say, you got to dig up the person that actually created that word in the first place, because whoever created it, it's just a word, right? Some man or some woman sat there and went, I shall call that consciousness. And then the rest of the world went, what is consciousness? Well, what is consciousness? Well, it's just a word. But we know the difference between being unconscious, don't we? If I knocked you out, then we know what unconscious totally means, isn't it? So in your unconsciousness, that's your human self, that's your human being. You're just unconscious. You say what you say, you do what you do. You don't care. Relationships come and go. You don't care. But when you become very conscious, you become conscious of your thoughts. You become conscious about the things you're going to say to somebody that could completely destroy them. You know, because that's what we do. We destroy people with words. So that saying where we say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, that's crap. That is complete rubbish, that is, because if you break my bones, I can go to the hospital, I can get my legs fixed, I can get my arms fixed. You know, there's nothing that cannot be fixed. But if somebody said something to you when you was 10, 20, last week, whatever, somebody says words to you and it hurts. It really, truly hurts. And so therefore, we have to try to get through life and not let sticks and stones hurt us, words hurt us. And that's what I do. I'm very careful now with the way that I speak. I come from Essex, which is the East End, just on the outskirts of the East End of London. Most of my family come from the East End. It's almost like gangster world, really. So we got brought up as gangsters in a way. And we all talk in a certain way, and it's very aggressive. But I'd learned that I can't keep being aggressive because the words were killing me. Anger will kill you. Anger will consume you. And anger will create an illness in your body. Now, I know this to be a fact because I will get back to some of these questions here because I'm really amazed of how many people are on. And I was very, very angry as a person. And then I was about 32, 33. I was in Cyprus. I was in a lot of pain. A friend of mine came over to visit. She heard me getting up in the middle of the night, you know, sort of in agony and in pain. She said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know. I was just in a lot of pain." And she said, "Well, I'm going to take you to the doctors and get some advice of what's going on." So I said, "Oh, okay." So she paid for it, and I went and saw this doctor, and they done that thing with the camera into your stomach. I'm not going to pronounce the word because I know I'm going to get it wrong. And then I gets the phone call that you've got a tumour that's the size of a golf ball, and it's cancerous. So I was like, oh, it's that moment. It's one of them moments. I don't know how many people out there have had that moment. I just had that moment. I just broke up in a relationship after 20 years, and I was feeling the pain of that. And I went to Cyprus to work in my friend's hairdressing salon in Cyprus, and I hadn't been there that long. And oh no, I've got more good news, as they say. And I just remember at that day I'd really had enough, and I thought, oh, you know what? I've had enough. I've had enough of life. I've had enough of relationships. I've had enough of the struggle, and now I've got this to contend with. I can't be arsed, I said, and there was a part of me that just said, shit. So what? There's nothing I can do about it now. So I went to the doctor. I went in and I saw the doctor, and I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to leave that right there with you. I said, because if I do have cancer and you're telling me that I have cancer, didn't you know what? I said, I've had enough of life. I said, I'm just going to let it run its course. And if I'm going to go, then I'm going to go. And I said, and it's as simple as that. I'll just leave it right there. And I was bewildered, and I was, wow, what do you do with that information, you know? And that night, I just laid in bed and I just apologised. I apologised to myself, and I apologised to myself for being so angry. I apologised to myself for being unappreciative. I apologised for myself for a lot of things. But in that moment, there was a moment, and I'll give you a visualization. For some reason, the visualization came into play. And you know that video game called Pac-Man? And that little tennis ball, whatever it is, goes round and eats whatever it's eating. I don't know what it's eating. So I started to communicate with myself on a different level. And I knew I've heard people talk about healing. I didn't know if it worked. I didn't know if it was true. I didn't know if it could really happen. And so what I did, I imagined that this Pac-Man thing was eating away at the cancer. I know, sounds stupid, doesn't it? And then I said to my body, I used my mind to communicate with the cells in my body. And I commanded them to clean this shit up. I commanded them to destroy what you would say is cancerous cells, right? But here's the thing. The cancer was in the esophagus. I said that right, didn't I? It's in the esophagus. So that means it was the difference between my heart and my throat. So from my heart to my throat, being an angry person, you don't speak from the heart. So on a chakra level, I knew that there was a problem from speaking from the heart. I spoke in anger. And so therefore, anger had caused a blockage in the throat, right? And so therefore, once I started to communicate with myself with love, and I surrendered to the fact that I'm probably going to die, right? And here's another thing as well. I never told anyone. I told my ex-wife because of the children. I said, listen, if something goes wrong, I'm just going to tell you. But other than that, I'm not going to fuel it up. I didn't tell any of my friends. I just didn't want to say nothing. So I can understand why people don't say anything. And there's a good thing behind it as well, because what happens is that you start fueling it. But I felt this amazing surrender. I felt this amazing release of me that just went, it's over. And I'm all right about that. It's over and I'm done. But I felt really good. I felt really nice. It was just a real strange feeling. And I surrendered. I surrendered to the fact that I'm going to die. And I'm 64 now. So I was 33. So that's 30 odd years ago, 31 years ago. And I'm still here. I never went back to the doctors. And I've never had any more problems. Because this set me off on the healing program. The way we talk to ourselves, the way the human being talks to ourselves is so wrong. We treat ourselves like idiots. We are so angry with ourselves. We're so disappointed with ourselves. We're so let down by ourselves. And our past has caught up with us, and that's heavy. You look at your past in your life and you see your relationships, and it seems like they go well and then they don't, then they go well and then they don't. And you just get to this point where you're so filled with that pain, you just can't take any more. I just can't. I can't take any more. So that became one start of my journey of understanding that healing truly does work. And it's a word, isn't it? I couldn't actually say that word, healing. If I said to my friends I was doing healing, it's like, it just wouldn't come out. It was just like the most stupid word I could ever say to my mates, And I remember one of my friends turning around and saying to me, he went, Trev, I swear, if I hear one more spiritual word come out your mouth, this is going to connect on your chin. I said, I know. I said, I know I'm driving you mad, and you don't want to understand spiritual, and you don't want to understand healing. So it's a tough one when you say to people, yeah, I'm a healer. You can see that they don't really understand it. But I have healed a lot of people in miraculous ways. I can't prove that. I can't do anything on YouTube. Oh, I'm live now, so maybe I could. I just need to find them though. I've done some incredible healings that again was mystical, and again it left me in a place that went, how on earth was that possible? And so that was another part of the mystical journey about understanding the true self, because what the true self is all about, it can do this stuff, but the human being, it cannot. So it seems like that the human being cannot do the healing because the human being programming just won't allow you to do that healing. But the Be Me. Oh, I think that's the first time I've mentioned Be Me tonight, isn't it? Be Me. I'm just talking about the story. I'm feeling very lightheaded because I'm releasing a lot. It's so nice to be live and we're still going, so it's great. I don't know how long we're going to be on here for. I'm going to get back to some of these questions because I can talk forever. And that's why YouTube, I do YouTubes for 10 minutes. It's really not who Trevor is. I find that a struggle, be honest with you. Because when I used to do TV, I used to do up to 5 hours, maybe 7 hours sometimes, maybe do a double shift. So I'd end up doing 12 hours. And maybe people that are watching me that was on the psychic programs with me, you know what I'm talking about. See, we dealt with people all the time. I can talk forever. 10 minutes on a video is no good. You never get the best of Trev. I'm going to go through some of these texts because I just can't believe what's going on. I'm going to have to go way back. My God, this is fantastic. Indigo of Loco Coco, Dino Salas, is this a coincidence? Critical thinker, society teachings equal human self. Yeah, they do. You got that right. Critical, oh my God, love you. I was thinking we need a community. I spoke about that. Critical thinker, the powers that be in the structure they lay out for us to be the cog in the machine and follow a certain life. And if we don't follow that life, then we feel like a failure. Yeah, 100%. We do that. And all my mates thought that as well. Everyone will think that. But your spiritual journey, it don't give a shit about that. It honestly, it doesn't. The most important thing is to understand your spirit, is to be true to yourself. Far too many human beings are not true to themselves. They put up with shit. And, in my human life, I didn't put up with shit, but it came out the wrong way. And so therefore, again, it could be violent or it could be very angry or whatever, you know. But now you can be really spiritual and you can really say things to people, but in such a way that the sword cuts both ways. I can say something so nice and so polite, but because it's the truth, it will cut you hard. And that's one of the toughest things about understanding what spiritual is, because it can seem like you're heartless. But when you speak truth and you speak truth to yourself, yes, it will hurt. When you start looking at yourself as a be me, because we spend a lot of time blaming others, don't we? It was because of that, and it was because of my mum, it was because of my dad, it was because of my stepdad, it was because of my relationship, it was because you said that, and it's because you said that. And we blame everybody. But when you get to the point where you say, hold up a minute, I am the common denominator in this journey, aren't I? And the answer to that is yes, you are. And then you start looking at yourself and saying, shit, I've caused all this. I've caused all this to go wrong. And that's why you get to this point. In relationships, you say, why do they keep going the same? I'll tell you why they keep going the same. Because you're the same. And so therefore, we keep blaming others. How many women say, all you men are all the same? How many men turn around and say, all you women, you're all the same? Are they? Or the ones in your relationships are the same because you are the same? Makes sense, doesn't it? So Be Me is all about, I blamed me. I wasn't going to blame anybody anymore. I blamed me. That hurt, but that became the healing process. And I was lucky to be able to speak to some of my ex-girlfriends, and it was great. Everything got explained, everything got understood, because every relationship is so important. You can forget this girl meets boy, boy meets boy, girl meets girl, and whoever, whatever. Um, when you get onto a soul level, it's soul meets soul. And then it becomes a healing level. So whoever you meet is a healing level, comes healing level. And then when you grow in consciousness again in your awakening, it's like messenger comes messenger. What I mean by that is you put a thought out into the universe, and whoever you meet in your life, they will answer that message. They won't know this giving you a message, but it will work with your thoughts. And that's how the universe, or call it whatever, the spirit world or a different dimension or whatever be the case in that, that's how it works. But you can only see it once you start to awaken. You start to see life in a completely different way. It's like, that's weird. That's strange. How's that? Why did they say that? My God, I was only thinking about that. Now this has happened and now that's happened. And that's how you begin to see the soulful journey amongst the human story. Because the human story only sees dramas and situations, emotions and mental aspects of who they are, right? But when you see it on a soul level, that's mind boggling. It truly is mind boggling. I've got 1,000 stories and I haven't done them on YouTube neither. There's a lot I haven't done on YouTube, by the way, because I only speak about the dark night of the soul. There's a lot more since then. Right, right, let's go on. Indigo 1-1, realizing this journey isn't about gaining anything, it's about letting go. Oh, right, I've done that. Experimental critical thinker. I have all the other things. I'm a highly sensitive person, but sometimes I think it's the world around me, not myself, and I don't mean everybody. That will happen. Um, if you're sensitive, that's good, but not good. But it is good, really, because when you're sensitive, that means that's that sticks and stones and words won't hurt me and all of that. That's what you're picking up on. But when you become sensitive and you become more psychic and you become more a channel, you become, oh yeah, you become sensitive, all right. It's like being a shark who smells a drop of blood a mile away in the ocean, you know. That's what it means to awaken. When you awaken, your senses heighten. Everything becomes highly sensitive. Your hearing becomes highly sensitive. Your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, your energy, it all becomes hyper sensitive. And but once you start to learn that it's, oh hey, do you know this is what it means to be spiritual? Because you haven't got the human block, and so therefore yes, you become very sensitive. You know, in the first part of the story, the human self is a block because you've built a brick wall and you don't want to be hurt anymore. So that saying, I now believe, is when you say um shout at the mountain and the mountain will move. What the bloody hell does that mean? I mean, you know, I know it's a Christian thing, but you know, it's just something that sort of always bugged me of what did that mean? But I have my version. And my version is this, it's that to shout at the mountain means that when you move the human being in you, which means the barriers that you've put up against yourself, the brick wall that you've built around you because you just don't want to get hurt anymore, that's your mountain. And so therefore, after you've experienced love and you get hurt by love, we don't want to experience love anymore, do you? Because it's like, well, blow that. That hurts. And so therefore you shut yourself down. You become very wary. You become very wary of when people turn around and they say, oh, I love you. And you go back and you look and you go, yeah, really? Well, we'll see about that, won't we? We'll see about whether or not you love me or not. So you put your own block. But on a soul level, you just love everyone. You just love everything. And I'll tell you for why. The greatest relationship that you need to understand is self. It's a tough one, isn't it? But that's been me. In comes Be Me again. I haven't spoke too much about that again. Body, mind, energy. Balancing my ego. balancing my emotions, be my experience, breathe my energy, be my expression, become mindfully empty, become mindfully enlightened. There's the 7 chakra steps. Now, when you start to clear out your ego and you start to clear out your emotions, you will start to understand love. And so, therefore, what is it that we're looking for? You know, when you're in love, it feels great. You know, when you're not in love, don't feel so great, do you? You know, when you're in love and it starts to not be in love and not be in love, and then you start to be aware, and then you start to think somebody's lying, and then you start to think, where's this going? And then you go, this has got to end. And then you go, you just walk along this physical plane of life, and you think, my God, I felt so good up here, and now I feel so shit. That got me questioning. So, what do we do in a relationship? Are we actually fighting over love, or are we actually fighting over energy? Love is an energy, fear is an energy, arguments is an energy. So, when you're fighting over love, no, you're fighting over energy, because in love you felt good and now you don't. So, you've lost the art of love, or someone's destroyed your love, and you'll do anything to try and get that back. And as you know, and as I know, that's difficult. That's very hard, isn't it? There's another reason behind that as well. So I then questioned, how comes I was that good and now I feel that bad? So, there's 2 of me. Well, what one do I like? Well, I like this one, don't I? We all do. Well, that's the one of love, isn't it? Yeah, but how do I sustain that? So what you have to understand is this be me. This one here, this one that's in pain, that's the fearful one, that's the angry one, that's the one that's in had all these experiences that don't understand. And then when we meet somebody, you step outside of yourself. So now you're thinking about someone else rather than yourself. That's the difference, isn't it? And then when that goes wrong, what's happening? You're now thinking about yourself. You're in your inner world, aren't you? Well, that's when there was 2 of me. And so therefore, what you've got to do is you say to yourself, well, I like being that first one, but I don't like being this second one. So what do I need to do? So there needs to be a balance, right? So I'm going to give you the answer to it. I'm going to give you a real big answer that took me 40 years to try and understand this. I bet the battery runs out now. No, it won't. But you fall in love, you fall out of love. Whether it be a girlfriend, whether it be a boyfriend, whether it be a husband, whether it be a wife, whether it be your parents, or even your children. We need to replace that love, don't we? So we need to love something. Humans feel better when they're loving something, right? Here's the trick. Fall in love with life. Now, you've heard me say it on many, many videos. Now, to fall in love with life, as you hear me say, that means fall in love with a blade of grass. Simple, isn't it? It is now. It wasn't. Because when they say fall in love with life, you'll turn around and say, well, how can I fall in love with life? I don't like the people. I don't like what's happening. And what is life representing? And what does it do for me? And what has it done for me? And all of these things. And you think, well, how can I fall in love with life? I don't love life. But when you fall in love, and I want you to go outside and do this, pick a blade of grass. Everyone's got a blade of grass. Look, I'm looking at my hand here as if there's a blade of grass in my hand, because to me there is. I'll use a blade of grass next time. Look at it. Don't call it a blade of grass, but just look at it and connect with it and just melt into it and fall in love with it. Feel the energy of it. Try to understand, what is it? Because it's not a blade of grass. That's the thing. It's not grass. And I don't mean the other grass, blade of grass, cutting grass. It's just grass. Why do you need to fall in love with that? Because it's the first time you've actually represented yourself as being part of life. And if there was such a thing of coming here on a past life, which doesn't exist, by the way, but if you did, you miss life. So when you go into the world of spirit, and you will, your guide, your mum, your dad, whoever, your friend, your lover, whatever, will say to you, or God will say to you, what did you think about life? And you'll say, well, I thought it was rubbish. I thought it was painful. I cried a lot. I was angry a lot. I was all of these things. I was depressed a lot and all of these things. And they go, no, 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 no. I asked you, what did you think about life? I said, what do you mean? What do you mean about life? Or what do you think about the clouds? What did you think about the grass? What did you think about the animals? What did you think about the trees and the forest and the birds? It was like, oh, I didn't have time for that. I didn't even see that. I was too busy trying to earn a living and struggling to keep the relationship going. I didn't understand any of that. Oh, right. Well, you didn't fall in love with life then? No, I didn't have time for that. I was trying to understand what my own problems were. So I fell in love with life. And when you fall in love, I fell in love with life, and I remember standing there, my God, I couldn't stop crying. And what I want you to do is to go out into the forest, stand there, do the first thing as a human being. Say, there's a tree over there, 200 meters. There's a few more trees over there, 500 meters. There's grass beneath my feet. There's bushes there. There's a deer that's just run over there. There's a rabbit over there. The sky's up there. The sun's a little bit hot. It's a bit windy. And you put all of these different locations, you put distance in between yourself and what it is that you're seeing and what you're experiencing, right? And you label something. So as soon as you label something, you just put a distance to it. Don't do that. I want you to stop that. And I want you to just look at it. Don't identify with none of it. But I just want you to feel it. And I just want you to, for once, feel that you are in this reality, in this dimension, and that you are connected to it and you are part of creation. If God created all of that, then God created you, who's witnessing all of this. So why shouldn't you fall in love with it? See? If we fall in love with God's creation, but we don't fall in love with ourselves, then we've lost. We've lost the game. So we are part of creation. Forget your religions, forget anything, forget it, forget the whole thing. If you have not represented yourself as pure creation, looking at pure creation with no identity to it, none whatsoever, then you'll discover be me. It's been me looking at being me. If you ask a tree what it's being, it'll just say, I'm just being me. If you ask a rabbit what is it being, it'll just say, well, I'm just being me. If you ask a dog what is it being, it'll just say, well, I'm just being me. We give it the titles, causes separation. In the eyes of spirit, in the eyes of quantum physics, there is no separation. It does not exist. And so therefore, when you get good at it, there's no separation. It becomes this amazing flat screen. And that flat screen of life becomes you, and you melt. You mold in with the life, and it's an incredible feeling. And when it very first happened to me, I felt the Mother Earth energy just rise up beneath my feet and rush through my body like a Niagara Falls, rushing through my body, and the tears were just flooding out of my eyes like a cartoon character. You know, when it goes like that sort of thing. Hoo, 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 hoo. And I was just crying. I wasn't crying in sadness. I was crying in this connection that I became this empty channel of separation and words. I became this empty channel, and I just felt this whoosh go through my body and up into the heavens. And it was as if I'd connected heaven and earth and it became one. And I just stood there and it just felt like my whole body was in a vibration, like a freight train was running past. You know when a freight train runs past and you're standing on the platform and you can feel that vibration? That's exactly what it felt like for me. And it was incredible. So that's what it means to fall in love, because on a soul, you came here to do two things: love self, love life. Love self, love life. And that's what Be Me is: love self, love life. So it's two of the biggest things, isn't it? Because if you ask a lot of people, do you love yourself? They'll say no. I say, well, do you like yourself? And they'll say no. I say, okay, we've got a problem here. But I understand that problem because I was exactly the same. But it's not about love in a way where you look at yourself in the mirror and go, you know, don't I look sexy today? Even though we do that when we meet somebody new, don't we? It's a love that gets replaced with, I replace it with the word called naturalness. So when you look at a bear or a deer or a bird or a tree or anything, what is it being? Naturalness. What is the human being? Unnaturalness. So what is it? So what are we looking for? Is naturalness. So Be Me becomes that form of naturalness without no identity to it. I'm naturally liking or loving who I am, and I'm naturally liking or loving what life represents. And that's how you fall in love with life. Right, I've done 76 minutes on here. I'll just go through a few of these questions because I haven't. Brilliant to have Trevor live streaming. The world has been waiting. JPH, thank you, sir. Love you. Kim, it's been slow here for people waking up. My passion is to show how they can stand in their power again and teach them how to seek the answers within. My only question to myself is, how am I going to do that? Will you do that by expressing it just within yourself? I find that was the best way. It's not about convincing anybody. Once you start to be it, it's like if everyone in my family and my friends knew me as being angry or quite explosive, then they noticed the difference. It's all of a sudden it was like, oh wow, he's changed. He talks different, he acts different. So you have to show it in that particular way. I find that is the best way. So you become it. Don't try to convince anybody anything. I know it's a lot of YouTubes, but I'm just trying to help people. Lakey. Hello, sir. Found a video of yours a few days ago. Enjoyed your message. I began exploring spirituality 4 years ago after a tragic death. That will always be the one. This was amplified after watching a whole lot of NDEs. Yes, it's sometimes we need a trigger, and they can be good triggers or they can be bad triggers, but a trigger will always take you from one pathway and it will lead you off into a different pathway. So we can thank that pathway for sending you off, because a lot of people that have gone off into the spiritual journey, something's happened here on the material journey and you have no other option but to turn right and then look into your spiritual journey, and that was meant to be. It was all meant to be, so you have to follow it. So always look at anything that is bad as being something that sounds and is bad at the time, but then it becomes the gift, because you start to understand that once you start to understand there is no bad, but only opportunity to understand it in a different level, then it becomes the gift and you understand it. So it will always move you forward. VK, why is it part of me really wants to put you as a human in a box to make it safe? My only method to try and achieve this is zodiac signs. Part of me wants to know what sign you are to make it all safe. I'm not quite understanding that. Of course, we're all governed by the planets. There's plenty of astrologers out there, so they'll probably answer that one a lot better than me. I just know that I'm governed by the moon, so I know how that affects my energy on a full moon, on a no moon. So I know what that does for me. So yeah, following your planets is very good. Let's face it, we live on a planet. Oh my God, love you. No wonder I felt so much fear. Right, that's that. Thank you for being here. Trevor, audio is not right, Bill. I don't know when that was. That might be a while ago. Right, let's go on. DJ, I believe your experiences. I've had my fair share of experiences too. Yeah, your experiences are important. After awakening, we do feel alone, but we are not alone. Yes, it will feel like that because the world is not awakening, but there's many, many people, and that's why I felt that America is leading the way in the awakening. So there are many people out there, but I think the darkness and the dark world are trying to make sure that we don't sort of grow anymore. I think there's a big problem. To me, that's Armageddon on the planet. Um, Right, what we've got here. Have you ever asked Mbeki what he is? It's not a he. Maybe what dimension it comes from and stuff. Mbeki is a code. Mbeki is the true self that came through within me. It was a message that was delivered in me once the human being in me dissolved itself, which meant I'm not Trevor Owsley. I was kind of carrying this message. And what Spirit had done is that it changed my pathways, just like I said with that lady just now, Lakey, about changing directions. And what's this doing? Sign. Oh no, that's the miss. Trying to right. So it changes your direction. So MB became the code, um, but it was a code that was within me, and I believe this code is within everybody because it's a structure that took me from the be me, then took me into the ICB me, then it took me into the Heartist, then it took me into the Mbeki, and it's like, oh my God, who the bloody hell, who am I? So who am I is just to be me. So empathy is the same to me as like God. God is not a he and it's not a she, but it's an intelligence, and that's what I love about what I represent in God being as an intelligence, and so therefore we have to represent ourselves as an intelligence, right? And surely we created man and know what his inner self whispers to him. We are nearer to him than his jugular vein. That's the Quran. I don't know much about the Quran. And Allah brought you out of your mother's bellies, not knowing anything, and he assigned for you hearing and sight and burning hearts that you may give thanks. That's in the Quran, so thanks for that. CK, question about finding your purpose in life. I'm a special ED teacher for kids, 24 now, but still feel lost at times. Teaching, you teach your awareness. Your purpose in life, I've always found, is the very thing that you felt in life. So for me, I thought my purpose in life was to be a hairdresser. Then that disappeared. And then depression took over and the dark night of the soul took over, which can be, hard work. But then I found that to be my purpose. So your downfall can be your purpose. But if you want to go to an ultimate, your purpose here is just to witness the beauty of life, that the kingdom of God. You're kind of in the kingdom of God. And your kingdom of heaven, which is what I call the be me now, is when I can see that I'm in the kingdom of God and I can witness that beauty and I can smell that beauty and I can feel that beauty. And for me, that just makes complete sense. And that's what I love about what I know. For me, what I bring is new. Oh man, SOA, what deceived you concerning your noble Lord? Here we go. Who created you and formed you and positioned you in whatever shape he willed, he assembled you. That's the Quran. Again, okay, great. JPH lost is sometimes good, gives you free space to be who you are. That's true. When you're lost, it means something's ended. So that means you can begin again. Hypnicity, I don't mind being a little misfit, but it gets lonesome sometimes. Yes, it does. And that's why we need to connect with people like ourselves and people like yourselves. Right, okay. Right. Right, SOS, SOA. On that day, a session does not eval except for the one permitted by the All Merciful, and he was pleased for him to speak. Quran. Okay, look, listen, I don't know much about the Quran, but thank you for listening. Whether you enjoy it or you don't, that's up to you. Okay, Samantha Dalton. Hi, Trevor. Do you believe that a healer can take away a demonic spirit from one when the healer is not in contact with the one with the spiritual attachment? Can it be removed from afar? I can't really quite answer that because I've never really tried that one. But if you, God, now we're going on a different story here because about the demonic. I mean, I never used to think that was real, but shit, that stuff is real. Because I had to have demonics taken off of me. Demonics come around now. Demonics, it's a big word, isn't it? Because we see the devil and horns and shit like that. When one is going through the awakening, as your process is emptying, that I felt that invited dark spirits to come in, and that's what I thought was the demonic because it was trying to stop me. Um, Demonic comes around when you don't love yourself, and depression can bring that on as well. And so, therefore, they connect into that. And so, therefore, when you're depressed, you can feel worse because the low level forcing dark entities are very close. They're very close in the periphery of where we are. You know, you think everything's up there. Oh, no, it's not. Because, like anything, you see a spirit, it's here. It's not up there. It's here. You slip behind the veil. So, them dark entities they still sit there. And if people going through their darkness, well, they love that stuff and they will jump on. So the best thing you can do is you can try it. I mean, I've done some certain things that I never thought was possible, but be honest with you, I've never really tried that. But this is where we need to start loving the self more. Once we start loving the self more, then that darkness leaves because it has nothing to hold on to. Samantha, try the crystals. Well, that came up on the screen, but I don't know where that was on the thing. Listen, guys, I've done way over the time. Oh, Samantha, try crystals like tektites. They help clear darkness. Okay, then if that works, then go for that and do whatever it is. I always wear crystal quartz. That's my favorite. Um, because I know that works in a lot of things because of quartz watches, right? And I always find that crystal for me, the quartz crystal is a very clear crystal. And as I say, crystal radios, it's a transmitter and all of these things. I'm not big on crystals, so I can't speak too much on crystals. Well, guys, I think I'm going to sign off because I've done 87 minutes on a live show that I didn't even think was possible. I will be doing more. I just didn't even know that this was possible. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'll let you know, I suppose. I suppose one of my friends has been saying to me for a long time. So I did it. Yay! And I will do more because I think it's better than doing the YouTubes. And I've done 88 minutes, and I never thought I was going to be able to speak for that long. I'm gasping for a drink now, so next time I will bring some water up with me next time. Thank you, everybody. Um, SR, Trevor, thank you. I'd like to thank you personally as you were a massive help and a part of my journey when I was going through the Dark Night Soul in 2017, which lasted for about 4 years. Thank you. Raven, thanks, Trevor. Elemental, fantastic. Thank you. JPH, love you. Yes, thank you. Gary Kinnear, thank you for this stream. Very helpful. Indigo 1111, thank you so much. Look forward to the next live version. Serendipity, much love. Judy Ababa, thank you very much. Samantha Dalton, thank you very much. So I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed it. And wow, boy, can I chat for heaven, can't I? So I'm going to do so much more. I think next time I'll schedule it rather than just jumping on, because I just said to my friend, I went, can you just be on the other end? Because I doubt if anyone's going to be listening. and just tell me if I have actually gone live and that it's working and the microphone's working. So I'll have to listen to this to see what I can put right. I know the video is too close and the top of my head's hanging off, and we've managed to stay alive. So, on that note, I shall leave you with stop being a human being. It is killing you. Become a beamy being. Start loving who you are, which means stop hating who you are. If you can change the way that you think about yourself in the way how bad your thoughts are, if you can't give yourself loving thoughts, just stop the bad ones. And once you stop the bad ones, guess what? Up comes love. That's all it needs. That's what I found as the most simplistic way of understanding this. Stop this shit, and then this comes up. And that is called naturalness. So love who you are. It's only one life. Understand your journey. Understand your emotions. It's not who you are really. It's part of your experience. It's the human way. It's designed for it to be that. But once you step out of it and you say, you know what? I can't do this anymore. That's a good beginning. And for any of you who's out there that is depressed, that's your old software that is disappearing. It is leaving you like a worn out computer. Beamism is the gift of who you are. The power of Beamy is the gift of who you are. So always bless yourself. Bless me every day. Be me. All right, I'll just let this run to its end here because it's going to be hanging on behind here. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Leave some more comments if you'd like to see more. I've loved doing it, and I've got to find a way now of how to close this off, and I have no idea of how this is. So I shall read your comments and see what happens. I'll speak to you real soon. Take care to all the Be Me beings out there. Love self, love life. Take care. Bye bye.